That's Pacers 3, Cavs 1. What on earth just happened in the first half of this basketball game? The Pacers run the Cavs off the floor. They're up 41 at halftime. Not a typo. We have so much to talk about on Crossover, Locked On Pacers and Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On NBA Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Hope you had a great weekend. Happy Monday. Welcome to a Crossover, Locked On Pacers, Locked On Cavs, where Game 4 just happened on this court right behind Andy Cunningham and I. Pacers won the game by a lot. The score is not really relevant because of how insane it was, how much of the time I spent in the second half looking at Pacers franchise records.
I don't even know what the score was. I'm looking around this arena to see if the scoreboard is still on somewhere. I don't see one. I think the Cavs lost by like 20, and the score looks respectable, and that game was anything but respectable for Cleveland.
Yeah, at the top of my head, 129-109, the final score. I don't think anyone was keeping up with it. The only thing I cared about in the second half, would that be the biggest win in Pacers playoff history? They barely miss it. Would that be the most points they scored in a playoff game? Missed it by 1 point. All possible things to look up because holy cow, was that first half unbelievable for the Pacers. 80 points scored. That alone, stop right there. Ridiculous. 12 for 18 from three, which included 2 heaves. So it was really 12 for 16. Balling inside the arc. They had 5 players make more 2-point shots than the whole Cavs team. Granted, the Cavs made a lot of free throws, but just rolled through them on that end. Great defense. The best defensive half the Pacers played all series. The Cavs had 39 points. 41. I read this tweet. I haven't looked it up myself. The largest halftime lead tied in NBA playoff history for the Pacers. Everything went right. Huge run to close the half. Their second quarter was ridiculous. One of the best stretches I've ever seen this team play. Well, I said this after game 2 for different reasons, but Danny, what just happened?
I think that the Pacers deserve a ton of credit. You would know better than I as far as this. I thought that was one of the best games I have seen an NBA team play this entire season. I don't want to step on your toes and say that was the best game the Pacers have played all season because I don't know that to be true. Maybe there's a better example. I don't know. I can't think of one. What I can firmly say is that is the worst game I've seen the Cavs play this season. We've seen the Cavs do that to teams. We've not seen that happen to the Cavs. The only other game that I can think of, and this game does not matter because it was in January, but when they went to OKC and got absolutely boat raced, like it was that game, and this was so much worse because of the stakes. The Cavs did a great job on Friday night of coming in here and getting a win and giving themselves a chance in the series, only to essentially throw it all away with a very, very poor effort. I thought not only did they not make shots, which has been, I think, a big story of this series, is that the Cavs forgot how to shoot the basketball from beyond the arc. But they also got out-hustled. They got out-physicaled. All of the little things that you would expect. And if you listen to Locked On Cavs, one of the things about the Miami series that I thought was impressive for Cleveland was that when they had a series lead, they still found a way to be the team that played with more desperation. That is exactly what I thought the Pacers did in this game tonight. I thought that the Pacers played this game more like a must-win than the Cavs did. And there's a discussion about whether or not it was a must-win for the Pacers. Like if you are Indy and you drop 2 games at home going back to Cleveland, you probably don't feel great about things. But this was an actual must-win for the Cavs. Like because of where they're at with their health, Donovan Mitchell did not play in the second half because of an ankle injury. He told Cleveland.com and I believe The Athletic that he will play on Tuesday in Game 5. We'll wait and see. Kenny Atkinson said he's going to get an MRI on Monday. But this was a must-win game for the Cavs. You don't want to go down 3-1 in the series, especially when you're not near 100% health right now. And the Pacers were the team, Tony, on Sunday that played this game like it was a must-win.
A Pacers superpower. If it's adjustments, a lot of players credited Carlisle today for it. If it's something innate about this team and just the way they sit and feel after these horrible games like they had in Game 3, if it's something else about their style that's just so demanding of other teams that's hard to duplicate, efforts like the Cavs had in Game 3, they've lost 3 games by 20-plus points in the playoffs the last 2 years. They won the next game every time. They come out and they're ready for the problems they had in the previous game. In this game, 3-2 zone. Here it comes, first possession. Siakam's wide open under the basket. He hits Andrew Nembhard open 3. You can't go to that over and over again like you did in Game 2. Oh, Donovan Mitchell's killing. Great, better defense on him. Might have been an injury involved there, but still, that's the best they've at least slowed him or made it hard on him the entire series. Oh, you're getting killed in the rebounding every game? Finally. The Pacers did the Torian Prince. They jumped up and grabbed the ball with 2 hands and pulled it down. Good box outs, hitting guys. Finally, not getting smoked in the possession battle. And it all comes together to look like the best game. You said, maybe the best they've played. Yeah, it's up there. I would say maybe number one. They've had a couple 80-point halves this season. Their offense is that potent, but 39 allowed is added to it is impressive. And against a team that had the best offense in the league this year, that's up there with the best halves they played. That Miles Turner second quarter heater was incredible. Siakam started the quarter with 8 points like that to put him up 20. I lost track of the differences. So the diff.
That's why you need the diff. This game is why you need the diff. See, you come to Cleveland, and what you do is and we didn't talk about this on our podcast. Tony East comes to Cleveland for game 1, game 2. Danny, I can't stand the diff. You got to get rid of the diff. It's all we hear during the playoffs is you got to get rid of the diff. And then when the Pacers are up by 37, Tony can't keep track of it because it's such a blowout that he's begging the Pacers to put the diff on the scoreboard ahead of us.
The diff needs to be called something else, and it needs to not be, if they're going to pretend it's a representation of the fan value, just cut it off when it goes negative. Okay, the fans are not making you lose the game. I love the diff shirt. It's hanging up in my podcast background studio for the rest of the playoffs. Actually, probably not if they don't play the Cavs anymore. Yeah, but that was a ridiculous second quarter. It just felt like they could do no wrong with the shooting. Everybody was making threes. Everybody was getting to the rim and finishing. And the only way the Cavs could stop it was free throws, right? Yeah. Again, Mitchell hit a three. I'm sorry. Mitchell scored at the rim late in the second quarter. It was their first 2-point make of the game. And there was like a minute and a half to go in the first quarter. They could not get anything going inside the arc. Pacers were much better protecting the rim. And that didn't really change at all in the second quarter. That is where I think this one impressed me the most is that, look, 80 points is 80 points. That's insane. But to pair it with that level of defense, I think really said something about the Pacers and what they wanted to accomplish in this game. And like you said, the desperation that they came out and played with, they've got to feel awesome. I mean, we'll talk about where the series goes next, but like that level of win, I mean, sure, the series isn't over, but it's got to make you feel like, oh, our best is better than their best. And it certainly wasn't that half of the game. They didn't try at all in the second half. A lot of coasting from everybody, and they still won by 20.
Yes. And the thing I think about the first half, and I don't know all the final stats because like you, I was writing my story during the second half of this game because it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered in the second half was Donovan Mitchell's ankle injury. At halftime, Tony, and the possession battle was something that Rick Carlisle mentioned before this game, and a big reason why the Cavs won on Friday by the margin they won on Friday was because the Pacers attempted 80 shots in game 3 and the Cavs attempted 100 shots in game 3. That was a big difference. And the Cavs turned the ball over like crazy tonight. At halftime, the Pacers had made 30 baskets on 52 attempts. The Cavs had only taken 32 attempts. Like that to me was the most, I guess, damning stat. If you're a Cavs fan, is that Kenny Atkinson always preaches the possession battle. The Cavs could not have failed worse at that. They could not hit a shot. They could not do anything correctly. Everything that Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs tried to do failed. The zone didn't work. Nothing worked offensively. Everything was bad. I do wonder, is this a game, and it's the playoffs, so obviously it is a game that you are going to take a look at the film, but like this is a game I think you want to forget. If you're Cleveland, you want to forget this night happened as soon as you possibly can.
You gotta to go on back to the 30 makes thing. Cleveland for the game finished with 30 makes. The Pacers had that many by halftime. Yeah, the possession battle was a big part of it. Like you said, Rick Carlisle talked about it pregame, which was very funny. I asked him about something entirely different, and then he talked about the possession battle, which is how you know he really wanted to talk about the possession battle. He got it in there, and he was right. It was a huge thing. Pacers take 18 more shots in the first half. Some of that because the Cavs had free throw attempts, like those would have been shot attempts, but 14 turnovers for the Cavs, 4 for the Pacers. Pacers win the offensive rebounding battle. That half all in tandem. And the Cavs couldn't make anything either, which just makes it all snowball. Just ridiculous, right? To actually say the stat out loud that I thought was incredible. 3 made twos for the Cavs in the first half. Pascal Siakam made 3 twos in the first half. Miles Turner made 3 twos in the first half. Obi Toppin made 5 twos in the first half. Those 3 guys had more twos than the whole Cavs team. I mean, just colossal failure seems like a stretch, but like none of the things I think
colossal failure is a stretch. The Cavs got embarrassed. This was a must win for them, and they got absolutely embarrassed. Like I don't think colossal failure is a stretch at all. Colossal failure might be a little kind.
Yes, I don't know why I was so hesitant to say.
I don't know either.
They just ran him over for. I can't believe.
And with the 2-point thing too, that is an area where the Cavs have had the advantage all series. Even in game 1, I thought that's where they had the advantage. And the Pacers, you could say the Pacers made a bunch of threes and the Cavs missed a bunch of threes, and that's why they won this game. Game 2, they were good in the paint. Game 3, they were great in the paint. And then Game 4, it disappeared. It just absolutely. Evan Mobley was not very good. Jared Allen, I thought, had a horrific game
Worst
tonight.
of the series for him.
I thought, and I don't think it's close. I thought he had been pretty good in the first 3 games of the series. I thought he was horrendous in this game. I don't think Colossal Failure is strong enough, especially when it's not as if we were talking about a Cavs team that, had home court in this series because they won one more game than the Pacers. This is a Cavs team that won 64 games. This is a Cavs team whose sole postseason goal was to win a championship. And now they might be eliminated in 5 games in the second round. Colossal Failure is not enough.
And we will get to will they be eliminated in 5? What will this look like next? Before we get to that, though, let me tell you guys about DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. They call it They Swoosh You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Donovan Mitchell very close a few times in the series. Dash Pass members score a 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code Wingstop50 at checkout. Bang, the combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer is valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms do apply, but if you're checking out more games after an epic night of hoops, or if you've ever looked at the delivery fees and thought that's got to be a better way, well, Dash Pass is the way. So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50+ in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a 3-piece free crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 plus order and code Wingstop50. That's Dash Pass, your code to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Back crossing it over on Locked On Pacers and Locked On Cavs. Tony East here with Danny Cunningham. Danny, something that really struck me in this game was actually laid out pregame by Kenny Atkinson. He was asked by, I want to say, The Athletic about, if another team prepares with their adjustments, what do you look for?
Sure.
And Kenny was asked basically, if the Pacers are ready for the 3-2 zone, what do you expect them to do, and how do you counter what they might adjust to? Basically looking past what the other team's adjustments are. The Pacers had adjustments. They had a lot. That's why they played so well. Did the Cavs?
I can't think of any that worked. Certainly nothing worked for them. And I thought the thing that really stood out to me is the Pacers figured out how to generate corner threes against the 3-2 zone. That
we
was
talked
it.
about that after last game.
And, in the second quarter of game 3, Indiana went 0 of 11 from deep. Some of those were not good looks. Some of those were good looks, but they missed all of them. In this game, the Pacers barely missed any 3-pointers because in some of the threes that Indiana took, I didn't think were great looks, but they made them. Some of the threes that they took, I think this is probably the majority of the threes that they took in that first half, were fantastic looks. They really figured out how to get the ball to the corners for wide open looks to good shooters. When that wasn't happening, they were able to get into the paint. Obi Toppin was able to get to the rim against that 3-2 zone. For as good as that zone was on Friday, and it was great, I think it was equally bad tonight.
Yep. It didn't. The Pacers were ready, right? They showed us in the second half that they fundamentally got what it took to beat it. They would screen at the top of the key and screen the guy on the wing and get into the paint, but the shot wasn't there. They didn't have the right shooter in the corner. They weren't getting deep enough post pressure to actually make the top guys come down. And they figured all that out today, right? Yep. There were a couple plays I tweeted, just clips of game 3, against that zone. That were like, hey, here's what they figured out. They showed something at least. They did that the whole game basically, and the Cavs were like, okay, we just can't do this anymore. And the Cavs base defense I thought was good in game 2. They went to just a little bit less switching. Jared Allen wasn't on an island so much. They couldn't get back to even that part of their defense. The switch everything stuff just doesn't work very well against the Pacers once they figure it out. So I was surprised they didn't have more. I think they went to a 2-3 a couple times. I thought, there's a different kind of zone, change things up. So at least they had
that didn't work either.
Yeah, that did not work either. They had other counters, I guess, prepared, but it wasn't there. And they needed Jared Allen to be humming to make their offense go in a way they needed, especially with Mitchell and Garland, let's say limited in this game. And they didn't get any of that. It was hard for them to kind of, I think, come up with answers. I think it was hard for Kenny to even have I could push this button to really come back, which leads us to this. Look, Mitchell's banged up. Garland is banged up, maybe not playing the best basketball he's ever played as a result, especially on the defensive end. Is this over? Can the Cavs win 3 in a row?
I mean, they can. I would not pick them to. I think the Pacers are going to win this series probably in 6 games, but it's not a crazy thought to think that a 64-win team could win 3 games in a row. I don't expect that to happen, but it can happen. The Cavs and Kenny Atkinson said before the game, one of these nights, they're going to get a hot shooting night. It wasn't tonight. It wasn't in game 3. It wasn't in game 2. It wasn't in game 1. At some point, that might come back. The only question is going to be, does that actually come back, or is the season going to end before it does? I'm not optimistic. I don't think there are very many reasons to be optimistic. If you want to talk yourself into, Darius Garland kind of figured out his rhythm in the second half, because even though the Cavs were down at 41, he played in the second half and got up to 21 points, hit a few shots, kind of started to look a little bit better offensively. If, maybe Donovan Mitchell is back and playing on Tuesday while dealing with this ankle injury, and he can have a performance reminiscent of game 2 or game 3 where he just absolutely carried the Cavs, you can talk yourself into it. I think it's very unlikely, considering the state of this team, where this team is at health-wise, and how they respond, Tony, to just getting absolutely blasted in a must-win game. I think is going to tell us a lot about this team.
I agree. On their home floor too, where they looked certainly better, I guess. One Tyrese Halliburton hellacious shot would change this whole series and the tenor of what's coming up next. But yeah, they can win game 5. The thing that I keep talking about with people here before I came out here to talk with you was like last year. Similar situation. Pacers won game 4 here against the Bucks. They went up 3-1. Dame got hurt with his Achilles tightness that night. Giannis isn't playing in that series. It's going to Milwaukee. It's game 5. No Dame and no Giannis. The whole world thought it's over. Pacers are going to win game 5. They lost. They didn't even – they got kind of smoked. It wasn't a blowout, but that was one of their 20-point losses. They were bad. They were really bad in game 5, right? There is no way that they can feel confident in any way going to game 5 in Cleveland. Miles Turner summoning the Kobe line. Job's not finished.
And it's not.
It's not. It's right. It's not. But then the Pacers came back in game 6 and did what they did a lot last year, which was completely pummel somebody at home, and they won the series. That, I agree with you, seems like the most likely thing that can happen here. My prediction's wrong. It doesn't matter at all. I picked the Cavs, and I thought they would look much better than this in this series.
I did too.
I will still say this. They won 15 games in a row twice this season. Is it totally possible they won 3 in a row? Heck yeah. The Pacers have been awesome. They've clearly figured out a lot of things they can do well against this Cavs team, and I think they've got to feel awesome about their chances to win. They quite frankly look like the better team.
Yes, and it has not been close. Certainly not tonight. I think in games 2 and 3, the Cavs probably felt as if they were the better team.
Agreed.
They were the better team, I think, in both those games, and a crazy Tyrese Halliburton shot completely changed the series. But the thing that did is it eliminated the Cavs' margin for error. You cannot lose a game in the playoffs that you should have won, because then it turns into, well, instead of having to win 4 games against a really good team, you kind of have to win 5 games. So the Cavs can look at it, well, we've kind of won 2 games. In reality, you've only won 1, and you have to try and find a way to put forth 5 winning efforts, and they have eliminated their margin for error because of that. The Pacers tonight were the better team. Game 1, they were the better team, but because they won a game in which they really weren't the better team in game 2, they have such a commanding lead here, and there's no way the Cavs can feel good about this.
They shouldn't. They absolutely should not. The Pacers have won 3 games, including that one that you mentioned, that maybe shouldn't have is the wrong word, but, we're certainly 0.1% chance to win or whatever it was. And they found a way. That's what they've done twice in this playoffs. They're certainly capable of it, and that's why you can't count them out in any game. That's why no fans left at all during game 3 here, despite the Pacers getting smoked for much of the night, right? That team's capable of coming back from those kind of moments, and tonight showed why people believe in that. When they're at their best, they could do a lot of damage. Everybody played well. There's no reason to go through the, wow, this guy was way better, but if I had to single
somebody out. You mean you don't have a player of the game for the Pacers?
Obi Toppin looking like Julius Erving. What a sequence. He had a wide receiver catch to keep the ball in bounds, which why just jump out and keep it in, whatever. And then came into the corner, jumped up, and died on the history day, on the same day. I don't know how to say the words. On the same day that Dr. J did his iconic reverse layup.
The anniversary would be
anniversary. Thank you. The history day. I've never done that before. The history day. Good for Obi Toppin summoning his inner Dr. J with that. He was quite good. Yeah, I mean, Miles Turner's second quarter heater was, I thought, the moment of the game. And I thought, okay, if he hit the 1-3 that, like, if you're going to go back and be the shot quality guy, he hit the one that was probably a 32-footer on the left wing that I was just like, oh, man, if that's dropping, throw the quality out. They're feeling it, and that's why a lot of my questions post-game skewed to, like, what did you know? This was a flow state kind of game that you guys had it. A lot of them kind of pointed to that second quarter, and that I think it was 17-0 run or something to that extent in that frame, and it's almost over, Danny. It could be over Tuesday. It could be over Thursday. We will see.
Yes, we certainly will. I would expect the Cavs to give everything they have left on Tuesday night in game 5. Will that be enough? We'll have to watch and find out.
You'll have more on Locked On Cavs. I'll have more on Locked On Pacers on a less epic game in this series. Thank you all so much for dealing with us in your crossover feeds. If you're sick of us, I apologize, but there'll be plenty more. We will see you guys after Game 5.